Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of She Plays Games. I'm your host, Lauren, and on my show, I have a chat with women of many different roles within the games industry, some of which don't always get the spotlight that they deserve. Through this podcast, my goal is to give visibility to the many women who already have successful careers in the games industry with the hope of giving more women around the world the courage in order to enter the games industry for themselves. Now, this podcast wouldn't be where it is without the support of my Patreon supporters. So I just want to give a big thank you to Jean Leggett, Matheus, Diamantino, and Priscila for choosing to support the show on Patreon. If you'd like to support the show, please head to patreon.com/sheplaysgames for more information. On today's episode, I'm speaking with Emma Rogers. Emma is currently a junior programmer intern at Sumo Digital. Emma joined the studio through Sumo Digital Academy, which is Sumo's personal talent development program. Through it, Emma and her colleagues were able to develop Zool Redimensioned, a remaster of Zool which originally released in 1992. On this episode, we're going to discuss Emma's experience remastering Zool and her journey into games so far. This is episode 53 of She Plays Games. Hi, Emma. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hello.
It's so great to get to speak with you. I mean, right off the bat, I just want to know, was there a specific game that sort of got you into the gamer sphere, getting you into or interested in the games industry?
I think I was a bit of a late bloomer coming into games. I didn't really get involved until I was maybe 15, 16, so a bit older than a lot of people in the industry. Yeah, well, still young, but I know a lot of people I worked with were playing games at 6 or 7. But yeah, I didn't really have any games that sort of resonated with me until I found the games that I enjoyed, which was Minecraft or indie puzzle games. But once I found that sort of niche, that was it, and I just found it.
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, the indie scene is just so good at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. There's lots of smaller games getting a lot of hype on Twitch and things like that, which I think is great.
Oh my gosh, completely. Is there any that you're playing at the moment?
I mean, it's not indie anymore, but I play Among Us all the time.
Oh,
It's been great over lockdown to keep, a fun thing to do with friends.
oh, completely. I think it's really epitomized that, hasn't it? Lockdown, the fact that having games to play with people just keeps you sane and functioning.
Yeah.
I don't know how people who don't have games get through that kind of situation. I honestly just I need it. But yeah, no, that's really cool. And I mean, so it seemed like when you initially sort of laid out your career path, you were headed more for fashion, which I've heard that before actually. I know quite a few people who've gone from something like fashion or agency work or something like that where they've come into games. What made you change gears and go into programming? What influenced your decision to change course?
Yeah, so I think I did fashion because I didn't really know what else to do, at school. And when I was doing my A-levels, I was told to follow, and do the subjects I enjoyed. And my favourite subject at school was textiles. So it was sort of a natural progression for the arty side of me. But then once I was there, I didn't really get along with it very well. I think it wasn't sort of the vibe or the social surroundings, people that I would normally be friends with, or I just didn't really get along with the social aspect. And I think the career path could be quite harsh in fashion.
Yeah.
And I just didn't really agree with some of the ethics in it once I got sort of down and dirty with the course. So when I was finishing uni, I was already starting to weave towards technology because I thought that's probably a good area to go in. It's still booming and there'll always be jobs in technology. And I started doing marketing work, logo design, things like that, just in my spare time for companies that were local to me. And one of the companies was an IT company, and I just did their logo design and things like that. And then they offered to train me in what they did, which was robotics process automation. So making little robots on the computer that fill in things like Excel forms or online forms, repetitive tasks that would normally have a human spend hours a day, but we can just program a bot to do it instead.
Yeah.
So they trained me a bit in that, and I really enjoyed it. And it, in a roundabout way, they ended up offering me a part-time job as a junior programmer, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't realise that programming was so creative until I tried it, just sort of off the cuff. And then once I did, I really, really enjoyed it. But then coming to the end of my degree and sort of deciding what career path to go into, it was fun, the programming aspect, but the subject matter was a bit dull and boring.
Yeah.
Excel sheets every day. It wasn't my favourite job. So I thought, well, I really like programming and I like that side of it. So what can I do that, sort of links my passion for things I enjoy? And one of those things was games. So I had a look at what sort of jobs were out. Didn't think I could apply to any because I didn't have any experience in games.
Oh, bless
My degree was totally not relevant at all. But then it just so happened at the same time, the academy put their advert out. So it was just sort of an aligning of the stars that their advert was out at the same time I was job hunting for something, and it just sounded perfect.
Yeah, going back to what you sort of said about like the feeling of the people around you, it's weird how that can really like affect how you feel about what you're doing. Like, you could be really good at what you do, but if you feel like you don't have your people around you, it's just kind of like, oh, this is not nice. Like, this is not
Yeah.
comfortable.
I mean, everyone was lovely, but I just didn't feel like it fit in with, I was joining the Game Society and I was the only person
Yeah,
on my course that was in there. And so it was just things like that. I felt like I was a bit quirky and a bit more
exactly.
out of the box than a lot of the people on that course and in the fashion industry.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, don't know what you're talking about. No, 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 but that's amazing that you were able to then sort of find what you wanted to do and find your people. The Sumo Digital Academy just sounds so incredible. If you don't know what it is, for those of you listening, they offer a really fantastic training program aimed at graduates to help them develop their skills for a role in the games industry. And you said you basically just like fell upon it. Was it just like a LinkedIn post or like a Twitter post type thing?
Yeah, I mean, I live about 20 minutes outside of Sheffield, so I was looking for jobs, technology jobs in and around Sheffield, and that's where it was based. So it just happened to come up as I was
Perfect.
like looking for like technology in Sheffield. And reading it, it just said you need some programming experience and a degree from anything. And I was like, okay, I've got those. Let's
Got
give it a
that.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love Sheffield. I've actually been there a couple of times now. I just like the closeness of it, and it feels really like, I don't know. Have you lived there your whole life then?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And so I'm from Chesterfield, and all my family's from Chesterfield, which is about 20 minutes outside of Sheffield.
oh, that's so nice. But I think like there's a real university sort of like, I can't think of another word to say, but it's like a younger vibe there. Like it
Yeah,
just
there's a
feels
good
really
good
cool.
like social scene in Sheffield.
Yeah.
A
So
good
that's
night
really
out.
awesome, like, that it also like, Sumo picked a really good place essentially
Yeah.
for that type of thing. And you obviously said you had programming experience before. I mean, did you have programming experience even before you sort of went into fashion? Like, did you play around with it as a kid or anything?
I didn't realise, but I remember being quite young, and my dad works in IT, and he got me started with Scratch. Yeah, and I didn't realise until I started programming, like professionally, how like that was sort of a starting point for. I know they teach it in schools a lot as a very early starting point for computing. But yeah, he got me into that, and I remember really enjoying just playing around with that. But I didn't realise until how linked it was until I started.
Yeah, he tricked you. He tricked you into
Yes.
programming. Brainwashed you into. Oh, that's nice though, because like my daughter is actually, I get them to play Scratch Junior every now and then on the iPad, and it does seem to be such a like it's just such a fun way to sort of learn how to program.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff, like the basics, are so similar, and the fundamental. I mean, obviously, game programming can get a lot more complicated,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
fundamentals are there.
They
So
aren't using like Scratch Junior at Sumo.
no,
One of the things that you did at Sumo Academy was you did a major project, which was reimagining essentially a game from the 90s called Zool. I mean, had you heard or played Zool before you did this?
no. So I think Zool came out in '92, and I was born in '97, so
So
it's a
yeah,
bit before my
a
time.
bit before.
Um, yeah, but I've always liked like the retro games anyway. So when Jake suggested it as something we could, Jake, my manager, suggested it as something we could do or, you know, have a go at creating. We didn't know it was going to be released at this point. It was just something to test our skills at.
Sure.
But we all really enjoyed it and all really got on board with it. And it was a nice one to sort of start off with, because it was 2D, but then it was still a good game in its time, but there were still areas that could be, you know, brought into the modern age or sort of improved slightly, quality of life and things like that. So it was a really good starting point to jump off.
Yeah, it's like cool. It's like a little ninja, isn't it? That you followed around. I didn't know of it before. Like I hadn't heard of it myself. So it was really cool to sort of watch what it was like in its sort of infancy.
Yeah.
And then your sort of responsibilities with the project was doing the UI, writing the code for the game's front end and font system, as well as coding the enemies and bosses for the toy world. Were the aspects that you focused on, like, sort of more towards your interests, or was it just kind of like, here's what you're gonna focus on, like, focus on this?
No, we were definitely given the opportunity to sort of pick what areas we wanted to get the most experience in. And I was sort of a bit unsure on what I wanted to do, but we did a game jam early on in the apprenticeship, and I was just by chance given UI to work on, just sort of out of the hat. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I like graphic design and things like that. So I think it links quite nicely. And so yeah, it just sort of fell into, you know, my hands, and then I really enjoyed doing it. So that was what I wanted to work on for Zool, and that's what I wanted to get the most experience in, because that was ended up being the job role that I wanted to go into. So I thought I'd get as much experience as possible, and get a credit for UI,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
hopefully the job prospects will be a bit better. Yeah.
So is UI gonna be like your path now? Are you like pretty set, like you're gonna explore more UI?
Yeah, definitely. I'm working. We did a 3-month placement on a AAA game. We all had different placements, and mine was with the UI team on this particular project. And as of this week, I'm now a junior programmer on that team.
Ah,
So yeah, it's permanent full
congrats.
time. Yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, I'm going to be working with that team for the foreseeable, and I'm really happy about
Oh, that's amazing. But yeah, no, well done. And I mean,
it.
like, as well, UI is such a fascinating thing. I mean, yeah, as you said, like there's so much like graphic design and so much design creativity that goes into UI as well. Like, have you been sort of like using other games as inspiration to sort of build yourself up, or looking at things like that?
Yeah, like with Zool, we didn't have an artist at the time, so
Mm.
like all the UI stuff, all the design, didn't have any design help because we were all just a team of programmers. So I went off and did research about the original Zool UI, which was practically non-existent, but I still had a look.
Yeah, UI
And
in
then
the dark ages.
yeah, and then compared it to other things like other similar platformers like Sonic and Mario and things like that. And I did a whole
Mm.
PowerPoint basically taking the bits that we all liked from the different areas and then sort of muddling it together into something that we all agreed on.
Oh, that's so cool.
When I started getting into games, I didn't really consider it as something that people had to do, like as part of the games industry, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
thought gameplay. But obviously, it is such a massive part now, especially like how far games have come now. A good UI adds so much to a game. And yeah, like as I say, I'm on a dedicated team to UI, which I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
But now, yeah. So
Yeah, no, there's like such a huge community around like UX and UI design as well. Like it's kind of like the UX UI people just all band together like merry people and and just enjoy UI. I'm not of that ilk, but I do respect really good UI, and I like it. Yeah, like if I see pretty UI, I'm always just kind of like, "Yes, this is so nice." So, I mean, with regards to Zool Redimensioned, especially considering it was, like, sort of your first really big project, what was it like sort of tackling something that was already an existing property, and how did your team sort of, like, approach remastering it and planning it out?
yeah, I mean, in one way, it was great because the learning activity was right, recreate this. So we were given the game in an emulator to play, and then sort of code like a like for like copy to begin with. So that was good because we didn't have to do any design. All the design was there, and we were just figuring out how to code it. So that was the positive of it. If like the design was already there, we aren't designers, so we
Yeah.
needed something to base it on. But then the good thing was we could then go further with it. And once we knew it was going to be released and be released as this reimagined version, we were given, quite a lot of free reign to, right, okay, you've got the basic, you've made it that it'll run on a Windows computer, but now, do what you want with it, really, within reason.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of stuff like changing the boss fights and things like that that I know Tom had a lot of fun with because there weren't any rules or anything like that. And then Owen changed a lot of like Zool's movement and things like that. Those were the bits we could sort of run with and put our spin on. But yeah, we wanted to make sure that it still felt like Zool. That was quite hard,
Yeah.
and that we didn't want to take it too far the other way, and that people who played the original wouldn't enjoy it or would think, well, this is nothing like the original. So we tried to keep it in this like happy middle ground where we sort of changed it in a way that you might not realize, or some things that people who weren't in the code wouldn't know, but that you would realize if you played them side by side. So yeah.
No, I think that's so good because yeah, like I mean, you see things like Sonic Mania and how good they are just for the fact that like yeah, like respecting the original design, but also making it like sort of updated just enough. Like it's just a sprinkling, like just enough. Like it's amazing.
I think one of the things that Jake said, he said, we wanted people to not realize what had been done. Like we wanted it to play
Mm,
like people remember playing it, but that
yeah.
might not have, like it was in the time, so it was the best technology of the time, it was the best graphics of the time. People might not have realized, playing it back that it was a bit janky and this wasn't quite right or this wasn't quite right. But we wanted to make it sort of a version that felt like when you first played it, when you had like the rose tinted glasses on. That was our goal.
It is so weird, like, back in the day, I loved Little Big Planet, like, it could do no wrong. But it's like, even a game like that, playing it now, it is so just not good in terms of how, like, the jumping and all this kinda like, just very basic things, like, going from that to, like, Astros now on the PlayStation 5, it's so different. Like, I still love Little Big Planet, don't get me wrong, and it might also slightly be user error, but, like, you do notice these things where you just sort of think, like, that that jump mechanic doesn't feel as nice as this newer title, which feels a lot easier to use,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
you f
as technology comes along, there's so much more you can do. So you sort
Yeah.
of just drift along, not noticing all these things until you go back and play like a old school game, and then you're like, oh my god, I've missed this. Like a double jump. Zool
Like
didn't have a double jump. And that was the
Yeah.
first thing that we noticed, and we were all like pressing A twice, and we were like, "Why aren't we going any higher?" And it was like it just didn't have one. So that was
I
one of
love
the
how that's
first things
become
we had to.
usual. That's become,
Yeah,
like, usual thing is to have a double jump because yeah,
yeah,
like, I mean, that it was years. We were, like, in a double jump drought. For many years, we did not have the double jump, but yeah, no, it's exactly that. It's, like, small things like that, and I mean, how people got through games without having, like, the sort of hand-holding type of nature that we've kind of gotten used to in like current games. Like, I mean, you find that the game will help you out a bit about what to do next. Whereas like back in the day, they were just like, nah, you can figure it out for yourself after like 10 hours of playing it.
yeah.
Like,
Like
just
with Zool,
do
there
it.
was no tutorial, there was
No.
no level select, there was no save points. Like there was just
Yeah.
nothing. So your only
Yeah.
option was to play from start to finish.
Yeah, exactly, and, like, that's what we're trying to go through now with, Crash Bandicoot with my daughters because, like, there's no continues, it's just, like, you lose all your lives, and then they're just like, "Do you wanna try again?" And then you just instantly get 3 lives back, and you're just kind of like, "Oh, okay, well, this was horrible when I was a kid, but it's not so horrible now. This is nice. So, I mean, like, with the whole project now out, I wanted to know, like, what was your favorite moment working on Zool Redimensioned?
I think it was the point where we had like a sort of complete game, like a feature complete game that played through. We were lucky in that we had, very minimal bugs because our, software wasn't, massively advanced, and the game wasn't, too big for us. It was just the right size. So we had very minimal bugs. The game could play through, and we were giving it out to beta testers and getting feedback. And that first point of contact with people outside of the team
Oh
playing
my gosh,
it was,
that must have been so stressful.
terrified. Please
Oh,
like
bless you. I know.
it. But yeah, none of us have ever released a game before, so handing it out to QA testers or like beta testers and hoping that it ran on their computers, because we built the engine as well, so we weren't 100% sure it was going to run on
Oh my
every and things like that. Yeah, but then the feedback was really nice and really constructive, and was very helpful. So yeah, that bit was exciting that it was going to other people, but then the terrifying thought that other people were going to see the game.
Oh, bless. But it is so great though. Like, I mean, because I'm guessing the QA was a part of the were they also a part of the like academy program?
We went with Secret Mode, the publishing company, for the QA. I
Okay.
think it is something that they're thinking of. I mean, in terms of like artists and designers, I think there's a whole spectrum of people that could be brought in similarly to the programmers. But at the moment, we just started with the programmers in the academy.
Oh, that's cool though. But like, yeah, just the fact that like you had that like to be able to actually like test out your game and stuff. You didn't just have to like hope for the best, you know? Like, but that must have been like such such an amazing experience. And yeah, no, I would be like just so nervous as hell, but excited at the same time. So, as a closing question, I wondered, did you have any advice for someone joining the industry through something like Sumo Digital Academy?
Yeah, I think the main thing that threw me off from applying for jobs elsewhere was that I didn't have the degree, or that I wasn't techie enough to go into games or go into the games industry. And I only thought I was creative, so I've got to do creative things like art or fashion or whatever. But those things can be channeled into so much more than you realize. Like, programming is so creative. You're creating something from nothing. And that's what creativity is to me. So I think don't be put off thinking, well, I've got these skills, so I have to follow this route. Like, try and broaden your horizons and see what's out there. And there's so many opportunities for like work placements or experience or interning or whatever you want to do that'll help you get the foot in the door, and just go for everything and every opportunity. Say yes to everything. Everything that's thrown at you, say yes. And yeah, if you're into games and you feel like the industry is for you, it's such a welcoming, warm environment, or in my experience anyway, and everyone's very willing to help you along. Even us that didn't know anything, like zero, about games programming, we've made it along, and now we're all in jobs. So there's a very warm environment that'll look after you and help you and nurture you along the path.
Oh, that's so nice. Oh, well, thank you so much, Emma, for coming on the show and talking to us about your experience. And yeah, I just congrats again on
Thank you.
your new role as well. That's amazing.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
That's it for this episode of She Plays Games. Be sure to follow Emma on Twitter at Emma Rogers Games. And also be sure to check out Zool Redimensioned on Steam. Also, if you want more episodes of She Plays Games, please be sure to subscribe and follow me on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube by searching She Plays Games, and Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at She Plays Podcast. If you want to be on the show or want to nominate someone to come on the show, you can email me at sheplayspodcast@gmail.com. See you all next time on She Plays Games.